in accordance to Mass General laws. And you can find us, if you haven't found us yet, you can find us on BNCT Network on Facebook. Are there any citizens' concerns this evening? I believe Abby has something she'd like to say.
I do.
Okay.
So over the past week or so, I've been thinking a lot about the experiences we've had shared about remote learning in the spring, and I just wanted to share my family's experience because I feel like that's very different from what the committee has heard. So I'm putting my parent hat on. So my daughter was in kindergarten last year, and what I saw was, one, sure, there were failures, but we asked our staff to turn on a dime and do something that many of them, or maybe all of them, I don't know, had never done before. And my experience of doing 4 to 5 meetings a week in my car where I'm sitting now, since our internet at home can't handle live meetings, was challenging, but my daughter actually did fairly well with it, surprisingly well from my point of view. And really what I saw in those meetings was huge collaboration between the adults that were supervising these kids and the staff that were there. And there was a huge learning curve, but everybody was really working together to make it the best experience they could. And I just really want to commend our staff for taking that really difficult shift and doing the best they could with it. And yes, like we've heard, there were some failures, there was a lot of learning, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing what the remote aspect of education this year is going to look like now that our staff have some experience and have some training going forward. So I just wanted to share my family's experience because it's a little bit different than what this committee has heard. That's it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Abby. I think that that's something I've heard from a lot of people, but it's wonderful to hear it from a committee person. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we have minutes that were sent to us via email, and I am going to ask for them to be approved. And I will start with with May 27th. Does anyone have anything on those?
No.
Okay, so Karen, would you like to make a motion since you said something?
I move that we accept the Wednesday, May 27th minutes as written.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. All those in favor? I'm just going to read through the pictures I see up on my screen. Mike?
Mike Townsley, Bernardston, yes.
Kristen?
Kristen Gonzalez, Northfield, yes.
Jeannie? I lip read. I hear you. Jeannie said
Milton,
yes.
yes.
Okay, Jim?
Yes.
Abby?
Abby Pratt, yes.
David?
Yes.
Karen?
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Yes?
Yes, Marshall, yes. And I'm going to lose you for about 10 minutes, but I'll be right back. I'm just going to be in a dead space. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Michelle?
Abstain.
Is there anyone else that I have missed because I don't have your picture?
Yeah, Pat, I'm here. It's Seth Kratz,
Hi,
yes.
Seth. Okay. And Teshkir, yes. Moving on to June 11th, 2020. Karen?
On page 3, Roman numeral 9, number 3, the first sentence, the AD should be an and.
Oh. Okay,
That's all.
that's it. Okay,
I actually have some Pat on this one.
sure.
They're all names that were spelled wrong or just completely wrong. So under the superintendent's report, let me find, in the first line, Lynn Hansel would have 2 N's in Lynn.
Mm,
In the next paragraph at the end, it says Bob Kier. I'm assuming that should be Brian Kier.
I would imagine you're right.
And then in the 4th paragraph, let me see if I can find it. I'm actually looking at it. Not looking at them. Let's see. Sorry. Oh no, yeah. So under the 4th paragraph, the one that starts with Chris Mullen, it says Jan Garanni, Jenny Genni Garanin. And that's all I have for that.
Thank you, Abby.
Yep.
Are there any others? Abby, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I make a motion to accept these minutes, the minutes of June 11th, with the changes made.
I second that. Karen O'Neill.
All right. Mike,
Mike Townsley, Bernardston, yes.
Kristen,
Kristen Gonzalez, Northfield, yes.
Jeannie,
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Abby,
Abby Pratt, yes.
David,
Yes.
Karen,
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Jess, she's in the dead spot, Michelle,
Michelle Geruso abstain.
and Seth,
Seth Kratz, yes.
and I vote yes also, so that motion passes. 2nd of June. Is there any corrections on that? Seeing none, would anyone care to be saying something? Okay, would anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to accept the minutes as written for June 11th, 2020.
These are the 22nd.
Oh,
June.
I'm sorry, for June 22nd, 2020.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
This is
I'll second.
I'll second.
Did Jim seconded it?
Yes.
Okay. Mike,
Mike Townsley, yes.
Kristen,
Kristen Gonzalez, yes.
Jeannie,
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Abby,
Abby Pratt, yes.
Karen.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Oops, I skipped over David. David,
David, yes.
Jess. Nope. Seth
Seth Kratz, yes.
and Michelle.
Michelle Geruso abstain.
All right, now we're on to the next one.
Pat, we can't hear you.
All right, I'm trying to find my papers. Sorry about that. The next one is August 4th. Everyone had a chance to look through August 4th?
Yep.
All right, would anyone care to make a motion to accept these as printed?
I'll do it.
So, oh,
Karen O'Neill, a motion to accept the August 4th minutes as printed.
second, Michelle
Thank you.
Geruso.
Thank you. Mike,
Mike Townsley, yes.
Kristen? You stepped
Kristen
away?
Gonzalez, Northfield, I abstain.
Okay. Jeannie,
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Abby,
Abby Pratt, yes.
David,
Yes.
Karen?
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Let me see, is Jess on yet? Nope. Michelle
Michelle Geruso, yes.
and Seth
Seth Kratz, yes.
and Petra, yes, that motion passes. The last one we have is the 13th of August. Karen,
On page 2, the first full paragraph. I do not understand the first sentence. It does not make sense to me.
Should be COVID.
But
That whole first sentence.
it doesn't make any sense as written. In the second paragraph, it starts with Julie Burke.
The very first sentence of that paragraph is extremely confusing.
So how, does anyone remember how it was supposed to be?
No,
Any of the committee have any idea? Or John?
I don't.
I move we table those minutes for clarification and revisit them.
All right,
I'll second. This is Jeannie, I'll second.
okay. What does everyone feel on that? Mike,
Yes.
Payable? Kristen?
I'm
Jeannie?
abstaining, so.
Okay. Jeannie,
Jeannie, yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Abby,
Abby, yes.
David,
Yes.
Karen?
Karen, yes.
Let me see, who else do I have? Jess? Nope. Michelle
Michelle, yes.
and Seth.
Seth Kratz, yes.
Back to Jess.
I missed what we were voting on, so I'm out of that vote. Sorry.
Okay, all right, and I say yes. Now, I'm not sure if we needed to vote on tabling or not, but just to be sure, I think it's not a bad thing to do. So that motion passes. So we have a superintendent's report, and do you want to just hit the highlights or sort
Yeah,
of?
that's all I'm going to do, Pat. I'm just going to hit the
Yeah.
highlights. I know you want to save some time. Thanks, David.
Exactly.
So just, the staff have been back for a little bit over a week and a half now, setting up classroom and learning spaces, participating in some directed and independent professional development and training. We're starting to distribute Chromebooks and technology to students. I know there, included some schedules in my superintendent report. I know last committee meeting, there are questions about athletics and the cross-country athletes wearing masks. So I, just provided that in there that they are required in-person physicals. So they are required to have in-person physicals to participate in sports. And the cross-country students are allowed to take their masks off during the race, although they have to wear them at the beginning and end of the race. Also, there are questions about the Northfield Elementary School capital project. I included a packet involved, what's going on there. And that's with the electrical upgrade happening as of tomorrow. They'll be about 90% done with that project, and they'll be shifting starting Monday to working just at night, so as to not interfere with the staff during the day. So I'll just keep it at that. If anybody has questions, otherwise, I guess we could move on.
Okay. Is your superintendent's report, is that posted anywhere so the citizens that are out there listening can have access to it?
No, but I can start posting it online if you'd like.
That might be good,
Because
because then they can read it and we can get through our meeting faster, but it's
Yeah,
got
sure.
information that everybody needs to know.
Okay.
That would be great.
Yep.
And if Tanya's on there somewhere, does she have a report that she'd like to give us?
So I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet as well, just because we have a long agenda.
Okay.
Most recently, I have been working with Msds, our transportation company, on getting transportation plans in place for our special populations that come back next Wednesday. So we've been working on that, and then we will work on the next model of education and getting that out just chug along with grants. We have making sure working with administration to get everything ordered through those grants to get school up and running. And it looks like we're going to receive everything before school starts and be able to get all that stuff in place that was needed. I did want to touch base really quickly, and I'll make, it's quick on the transportation piece. Somebody posted the article that was published about the sanitation system that's going to be used in all the Msds buses out on the PVRSD community. And there were some questions about it from parents and the community. So I actually have a really quick video. So I'm going to share my screen and just play that video real quick so that the committee can see, and it'll also be public on BNC TV so that hopefully it'll answer any questions that any of the parents have about that system that's going to be used in our buses.
Tanya, is that on the Msds website also?
I don't believe it is. She just shared with me, it was actually published on a local news station.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah, it may be, but by presenting it now, I think it gives the school committee a chance to take a quick look at it. It's really like 30 seconds. And this is something that we funded for our 11 buses through our CARES Act. If you guys remember, we funded it at $650 a unit for the 11 buses that our school district uses. So
can the video be posted on the district website? Because for parents to have access to?
Yep, I'll make sure that I provide that to Joanne, that she can get that out there posted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's actually there's a PowerPoint also that goes into more details about the system itself, but the one that I'm going to share is more concise and talks about the safety of the actual disinfectant, which is what the questions were concerning from the parents and the community that I noticed today. So let me just share my screen real quick. I will present this and then we can move on. So can you guys see this video?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Is your school authority. A Franklin County-based bus company is preparing for the school year with a new technology to quickly disinfect its school buses.
It says buses will have to transport students while keeping them safe from COVID-19. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo has the details.
When students are allowed to board the school buses again, the rules for preventing COVID-19 have been laid out. 1 student per bench, windows open for airflow, and masks for every rider. But just as COVID-19 has altered the way kids ride to school, the winds of change are blowing a new cleaning method over school buses with the Gill-based FM Msds company. Co-owner Pam Reefold, faced with the prospect of cleaning buses every day, had an idea that cut through the haze.
I reached out to my friends at Beat and said, hey, you guys have any kind of fogging system that would work for us? And within a few days, their engineers were on the phone.
Rosalind Greenfield developed a disinfectant fog that can efficiently clean buses using a pressurized system.
We don't have to worry about under or over saturation. Rather than using a cloth and spray to clean every seat on the bus, this new system can fill an entire bus with a cloud of disinfectant in 3 to 5 minutes.
If it went in and cleaned all the hard surfaces and then disinfected the entire bus by hand, it would be between 30 and 45 minutes.
While technician Jonathan Harris tells Western Mass News the solution takes 15 to 20 minutes to dry, he says it only takes 5 minutes to kill germs. Plus,
the chemical we use is food safe.
The bus company serves several Franklin County schools and has already tried the system out on one district in Vermont. And while it doesn't necessarily have the misty-eyed, local school officials say the new system provides extra peace of mind to their communities.
So it helps to build the confidence of not only parents, but also staff. There's an extra layer of trying to help our students feel safe.
When the pandemic is over, Msds employees hope to roll out their disinfecting cloud over other seasonal illnesses.
We can use it to cut down on cold and flu.
Audrey Russo, Western Mass News.
All right. So that's just a quick and short on that system. I was in on meetings when it was presented to all the school districts back in early summer when this was presented. So if anybody has any questions, they can certainly reach out to me. They can reach out to Pam Kosmeskis directly to answer those questions, and I will share that as well as the PowerPoint that was given to us by the Fog Nozzle, who manufactured these systems for us, well, really for Kosmeskis. So, and have Joanne post those on the district website.
Pat, I have a question.
Yes.
I'd like to request that we get the MSDS sheet for the chemicals that they're spraying and have it on file at the school in the superintendent's office, please.
I would think it would be there anyhow, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm requesting it.
Okay. Did you get that, John?
I'll get that from Pam.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Is there any questions anyone else on the committee has? No? Okay. Do you have more of a financial report, or is that
Well, the
it?
next thing on here is just the accounts payable. So you guys have those in front of you. Pam, sorry, I'm thinking of the bus company. We'll have you sign, I think you may have actually already signed the warrant for Brenda so that those checks can go out in the mail. As requested before, all this documentation was provided in advance and you guys were asked to look over that. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer that, but I'm not going to go over them. Or the expenditure reports in detail. I will just go over the budget transfers that you guys have in front of you. Does anybody have any questions on the accounts payable or specifically the expenditure reports? Or would you guys like me to just briefly go over the transfer votes that were requested and touch on a couple quick things on the expenditure report?
Why don't we do that, because we need
Okay.
to. We can do it now as well. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to share my, excuse me, share my screen again, just so we have this in front of you guys as we've requested in the past. So I will go ahead and get that.
Thanks.
You guys all see the transfer request up on my screen?
Yep.
Okay. I made it big enough so you guys could see, but not too big where you can't see the whole thing. Real quickly, as discussed, this was actually presented to you guys at the last meeting, but we were missing just a couple pieces of the puzzle to cover some of our administrator salaries as well as other salaries across the district and contracts. So this is just simply the transfer among salary lines across the district to cover those negotiations and contracts that happened in the spring after the budget was completed. There will probably be a couple more transfers that come across your table at the next meeting. As you guys noticed, there are some salary discrepancies across the budget. We are still assigning certain IAs and staff to their positions across the district. So I'll be working with Suzanne to make sure that everybody gets moved to the right funding line, as well as there's individuals that will be grant funded, but again, because some of the IAs haven't been specifically assigned to students, they haven't been moved over to their grant funding line. So any of the negatives that you see in any teacher salary lines or instructional assistant lines, those will be resolved either in the report or via transfers at the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Questions on these, or do we want to take a vote?
We do need to take a vote, and if there's no questions, I would go down through. Jim,
Yes.
this is, I think we need to back up. We need a motion first. So, would anyone care to make the motion first to accept these transfers?
Pat, I'll make a motion to accept the report as presented.
Okay, and so would you like to make a
Pat,
motion?
that's not the same as transferring money.
No. We need a vote to
Approve.
approve the transfers as presented.
Okay. Oh, is that what your motion was?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfers as presented. If you want, we can go line by line on them if it has to be. That's up
No,
to
we
you.
don't have to do line by line.
All right.
Okay, all right.
I'll second. Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Jeannie,
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Mike,
Mike Townsley, yes.
David,
David abstain.
Michelle,
Yes.
Karen? Kristen?
Kristen, yes.
Seth, I know you were on there.
Jess Marshall, yes.
Okay, thank you, Jess. Seth?
Seth Kratz, yes.
Okay, I missed people, but I'm not sure who I missed.
Pat, you missed me. This is Abby. Yes.
Okay, sorry, Abby. I
No
saw
problem.
the A and I had a brain drain. Okay, and Kristen?
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay, did I get everyone? Because pictures have moved. Okay. All right, and I would say yes too, so that motion passes.
So if nobody has any questions, I'm going to pass it over to Mike to actually present the lunch reports, as I believe he is on this meeting.
Yeah, I saw him join.
All right, and if anybody has any questions after the meeting, feel free to email me if you need any further clarification on anything.
Great, thank you. Mike, you on there?
Tanya, would you be able to share that report on the screen so I can go through it, please?
I suppose I can do that for you.
Thanks.
Give me a second and I'll pull those up. I apologize, I didn't have those up earlier. I do have them up actually, sorry. I was prepared, I just have them, I have a dual screen, so my computer wants to cooperate with me. We're having some nasty weather here, so.
Rain?
Lightning, thunder, rain, all that good Florida hurricane season weather.
Yeah.
So, sorry. The report that's in front of you is for the July and August meals that were served as part of our summer program, and I'll let Mike go over that.
All right, so what we have here in front of us right now is the July and August combined school lunch report. So this is from July 1, or actually from July 1 until August 31. Since we were able to work under the SSON, we were able to waiver, collect the full free reimbursement from every student or every child that we served across our 5 towns. 53,625.60 or 53,1503 was revenue from summer school lunch revenue, which was federal and state reimbursements. We had a couple of small payments that came in on accounts from last year, which actually they hit here into our prepaid through all of the school lunch salaries and the summer school lunch food. We were looking at our total expenses of $21,255. And so that brought us, just for those 2 months, into the positive at $32,379.27. That didn't account some of the other, since August, many of our expenses, food costs, so on and so forth, they don't hit until the following month. So we have expenses that will be showing up in September. And so when we look at that September report that she pulled up, once those expenses hit in September that were for the school lunch program in July and August, we're looking at a closing balance positive of $14,232 for the summer.
Wow.
Which is we say wow, but it's also a cushion. It's a cushion for the hard times we're going to run into over the next couple of months, which is helpful.
That's great. Good. Anybody have any questions, comments? Other than a thank you?
Don't thank me. Thank everyone that came in, knowing that we had to feed our children and that really, the kitchen staff, our staff across the district, they really put themselves out there to make sure that everyone was able to be fed, and it was selfless. It really was, and we're lucky to have them.
That's great. We definitely are lucky. Okay, moving on. We have signing the warrants, and I've already done that, as Tanya related to. Subcommittee report, negotiation subcommittee. I'm chair of that, and we have been meeting, we started about the 1st of August, and we've met every week ever since, it seems like. And we're going to have an executive session tonight to discuss that, but it sounds to me like it hasn't quite happened yet. So probably John will keep us posted when that does occur. Is that right, John?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Building and grounds is, I'm not sure if they've met yet.
So Pat, this is Kristen.
Yes.
I had spoke to, because Sharon was our chair of building and grounds, and she's no longer present with the school committee. I had placed a request via email for a meeting, but did not hear back. So it looks like some of the items that we were wanting to discuss as a building and grounds committee have made the agenda for this evening's meeting, so we can touch upon that. But we do have to have a formal meeting, and I see also that we're going to discuss subcommittee chairs, so we can have a new chair as well.
Okay. So is there anything else anyone has to say? I don't mean to pass you over, but yeah, we are gonna get it further on, so. CMP is Karen.
Okay, we are scheduled to meet Monday to discuss the job description for the 1/2 year, 1/2 time SEL coordinator, who I believe has already been hired. Is that correct, John?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, this was kind of a cart before the horse thing because of the need to get someone on board before school started to help the staff as well as the faculty and students with the beginning of the school year. So we will take that up on Monday.
Okay, moving on down, budget. Mike has been budget subcommittee chair, and he has resigned that position. So we'll be discussing that later on too. I think it's the next item. Is that okay, Mike, with you?
Yeah, that's fine. I just, reason for resignation, I just want to maybe give somebody else the opportunity to step into that position. I mean, if nobody steps into that position, I would, definitely would continue on. But I feel that in that position, I think it's good to have people fully aware of what the numbers are. And the only way to do that is really be participating with Tanya. And Tanya does a great job with her documents. So it does make life easier for everybody when the time comes. And that, we start discussions usually in October, at least we try to get the ball rolling on ideas and stuff. So that's what I have to say, and we'll, I guess, deal with it the next section of this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Pat, real quickly, can I just piggyback on that? To bring up that I think for meetings, we do want to try to get in a budget subcommittee meeting to just start having conversations. Probably not in October this year, just because the state's behind the ball, even with voting on what our current year's budget's going to be. But I am supposed to be in the district the week of November 9th, depending on how this current situation goes for our audit. And it would be great if we could just have an initial meeting to discuss how we're going to tackle this, how we're going to fund staffing and where we're at after we've been in school for a few weeks and what things are looking like. So just more of a planning meeting. There won't be any numbers discussed or anything really at that time, just how we're going to operationally address the budget for next year with so many unknowns. So just putting that out there as far as a meeting that I would like to try to get potentially scheduled once we do have a new chair appointed.
Great, thank you. Policy is Abby.
That's me. So we have not met, but at one of our recent meetings, I said that I would look into the citizens' comments stuff, which I started to do, and I know that's on the agenda for later. So I'll have some input on that when we discuss it.
Thank you. And the district agreement subcommittee, I don't even know where that is at this point. John, do you know what's happening with that subcommittee?
I haven't heard anything from that committee or about that committee in some time.
We maybe need to, after the election of committee members, maybe we need to get that up and running again. Okay.
If there's a way with that district agreement subcommittee, if we could maybe pull Michelle into some of those meetings, just because there's been such a change in our committee and stuff since the Heart Committee did that, and then we started voting on it, and her and I kind of were in that process from the start, as well as John. So that just putting that out there, that might be helpful in getting new committee members kind of up to speed on what the process has been to date. Pick up where we left off.
I'd be happy to, Tanya.
Oh, that's great. Have somebody that knows what they're talking about is a lot of time.
Pat, I was on that committee. I think we're pretty close to wrapping it up. Just that the time frame had run out in order to get the documents for town meeting. So it needs to be just confirmed, and the district attorney is for our schools district has that paperwork. He should have that. Maybe John can reach out to him, get the most recent copy of that. And maybe I can reach out to Sharon Fontaine and get her notes on that, and I'll check my notes from the last meeting. But I think we were pretty close.
All right, that's great to know. I think sometimes we lose track of what we're doing if we don't keep check on things. Okay, so now we're to new business, a discussion of subcommittee chairs and chair of the committee. I'd like to lead this off with just my ideas, and then everybody else can chime in. That sounds okay with everyone. The election is 7 weeks off. And it seems to me that it might be better, and we'll have 6 newly elected members at that point. As far as I could count, there's only 6 people that I know of that will be staying on the committee. I don't know if I think I'm right on that. And I have a couple ideas on that. Number one, it would be, could the entire school committee work as a budgeting subcommittee, especially when Tanya just said that that we wouldn't be starting our budgeting really until November, which would be well after the election. So I would put off doing anything on the budgeting unless it needed to be done in October, and then maybe the whole committee could work on it at that point. And building and grounds the same way. If we could put the election of the subcommittees and the subcommittee chairs off until after the election, it would make more sense to me, because you wouldn't, otherwise you're going to have a month and a half of people working on a committee as chair or not, and you're just going to be spinning wheels. So that would be my suggestion. And the same thing about the chair. I would be willing to stay on until the election, and then I'm retiring after 44 years of being on the school committee. And I would do that for the 7 weeks that's left. And then you'll get 12 people that can work together well. And the chair could either appoint the committees and the chairs, and that's been done, or the subcommittees could get together and appoint their own chairs. However, the chairman at the time wants to do it. But to me, to change now would just muddy the waters. I don't know how other people feel.
Thank you.
You're welcome to listen.
I agree.
I agree.
This is Abby. I agree as well.
Jim, big thumbs up.
Pat, can I just speak?
Sure.
The main thing we gotta stay focused on is we got a lot of stuff to do with this COVID issues and the issues around it. I just don't wanna see the mentality of let's, just write it out. We need to put a lot of work into the next month or two. And, that's what we gotta focus on. We can wait and do that, but we need to meet as a whole committee for the subcommittees, and that needs to be done. We can't let it just ride out till November. We've got a lot of work to do and a lot of issues to address. And the parents and citizens of this district have a lot of concerns, and we've been getting a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, and a lot of messages, and we need to address them. That's my concern.
I don't think anybody wants to just lay down and play dead. I think it's something that maybe we need to have meetings every couple of weeks. We need to have people as involved as ever, or maybe even more so. We've got a lot of people out there that are really concerned about the education of their children or the health of the teachers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that has to be worked out. And I don't think because we put off an election of subcommittees or chairs, that negates that. I may be wrong.
Pat, this is Kristen.
Yeah, Kristen.
So I hear everyone's feedback, and I would just say that I would be extremely concerned without having, if we were to leave this meeting tonight, with having some form of meeting schedules for the subcommittee or some agreement or plan in place, how we're going to carry out these next 7 weeks. If the committee, agrees that we're going to sort of wait for these subcommittee chair and chair elections, that we have a plan in place, because there is so much to be done. And as I mentioned before, we tried to have and request a building and ground subcommittee and did not get any feedback. And there's work to be done. And I fear that, again, the work won't get done. We don't have a plan or something formalized as we move forward for the next 7 weeks.
I think if we opt for that option, I mean, I think that we need to make time for setting up dates for the building and grounds and budget to get together. I think Abby and Karen are doing well at keeping their two subcommittees going. But I think the other two definitely we need to make time and set that time. I saw Abby and then I saw David.
So this is just in response to Kristen requesting a building and grounds meeting. I'm on that subcommittee, and this is the first that I've heard about that. So I don't know what the communication has been, but if you're looking for a response, I did not receive any emails about it.
Okay. And maybe Kristen as chair knew a little bit about that and no.
So I had just requested, and I had requested to have a meeting posted after, and I'm sorry, Abby, because I wasn't on, I was on that committee prior to becoming chair of the school committee, and then I was just an extra member, the ex officio. But I didn't hear anything back from my request to have it posted or anything like that. So Pat was gracious enough to add those items to tonight's regular agenda.
Okay. And David?
As I wanted to add the insight, as folks are concerned about, especially building and grounds meetings, that there are many districts who do not have a building and grounds, and and there's a body of opinion among school committee governance that it's a function of management, not the school committee. So I'm more concerned personally with budgets and content related things. And we do have a tradition of functioning with the Building and Grounds Committee. And I think it's served to link our member towns back to our thinking since the model in the past had the towns meeting the capital expenses at elementary schools. But if you're curious, look around. Tech does not have a Building and Grounds Committee. A number of districts do not have a Building and Grounds Committee. Do we have staff to do the work? That's the question.
Yep, I hear you. Okay, any more discussion? Need to vote? Do we need to, what are we gonna do?
I think there's unanimous consent that we should go in a holding pattern. Thank you much, Pat, for 44 years of service, and
it's been fun.
You're here.
Thank you. So hearing that, we need to make a date for Building and Grounds. Today is the 10th. Do we want to do it? Karen has a meeting on Monday.
Excuse me, Pat.
Yes.
I would think that principals need to be involved with that meeting.
Exactly.
So a lot would ride on when they have availability to meet. And who is currently on the Buildings and Ground Committee?
Well, it sounds like Abby, Sharon was on, and I'm not sure who else.
Pat, it's Seth. Yeah, I'm on.
Seth was on it?
Yeah.
I think it's just the 3 of us. It's just the 3 of us.
Oh, just the 3 of you. Okay.
Well, now it's Kristen, Abby, and myself, I believe.
All right.
I don't have any subcommittees anymore because when I was chair, I could not participate in a subcommittee because I had to be the ex officio. So I'm happy to join Building and Grounds again.
That would be great.
To make that full.
That would be great. So would you want to set up a date now and then the whole committee knows about that?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So the quickest it could be posted would be like Tuesday. Would that be right? Yeah, Tuesday of next week or any day after that. Probably wouldn't want it on the 16th because that's the first day of school. And the staff is going to be insane, I would believe.
When will we be available?
Sorry, Abby, go ahead.
Okay, so I could be available Tuesday or Thursday, but evenings are easier for me, and Tuesday would definitely have to be later in the day.
Okay. Seth?
Yeah, I could do Tuesday or Thursday also. Either, and evenings are better for me as well, but either one of those.
And Kristen?
I could do Tuesday or Thursday evenings. I would prefer Thursday if people are available, but I can make either.
Okay, I see a thumbs up from Abby. Seth said he could do Thursday, and Kristen says Thursday. So we'll try to get our, I'm not sure if we have any administrators on board today. I don't see
They're all
any.
on. What time do you want to set the meeting for?
What time is good?
Easiest for me, time after 6:30 is easy. Like I can make a 6:30 meeting.
That's fine for me too.
So
Yeah, 6:30 is fine.
Okay, let's do 6:30. So 6:30 on the 17th. Correct, for Building and Grounds. All right, now budget. Do we have stuff that needs to be discussed ASAP on budget? John or Mike?
Not that I'm aware of, unless Tanya has something, but.
No, I
as
don't have
she-
anything,
as
like I
she-
said.
As she said that, before, in the past, we started early, but we had some deficit issues to deal with. If she's saying that we're, pretty good to go, maybe first week in November or something, before the holiday break, that might be the time to do it, but we got time to plan for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to schedule the meeting of the week of November 9th, maybe on that Tuesday, since the Thursday is a school committee meeting, so that we have time and aren't rushed with like an hour before the school committee to just collaborate and kind of talk about how we want to tackle it. Like I said, more from an operational standpoint than the actual numbers at that point, but we definitely can wait till November to get together on that, because I think we need to understand more what we're looking at once schools have been in session, and whether or not we're going to be looking at a back to normal model next year, if we need to be planning on a continuation of what we have going on right now. And that's going to affect our budget tremendously next year.
Okay. Just thinking, after you said the first week in November, we will not have had, or you will not have had, your school committee meeting. So that meeting would have to be of the full committee. Just so everybody's aware of that, of the 6 people that are in the meeting.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine, because we got a lot of stuff probably that people will have questions on, or even thoughts of what we might want to be doing for that budget season with, especially with building grounds, maybe some costs that might be incurred through that department.
Okay, that would be great. And so we need, I really think, I don't know how other people feel. I really think that meeting every couple of weeks in this COVID crisis is not a bad idea. I know we have other ways of spending our evenings, but if we have a half an hour meeting, so be it. So 2 weeks would bring us up to what, the 24th? Is that right? 14 and 10, yeah, the 24th is on a Thursday. Michelle?
I would like to make a suggestion, and let's prioritize some things that we need to accomplish within the next month. Instead of just meeting and then coming up with an agenda that, I think some of us could be talking to parents and teachers. We've got to get the parents involved over the next couple of weeks, whether it's a community forum or whatever. But I think we need to prioritize as to what we're going to do within the next few weeks, if we're going to bring the kids back or what. But just coming up with agendas, I don't think it's not moving us in that direction to talk to parents.
I think John could have something to say to that. Is that right, John?
Well, I think the principals are communicating with the parents weekly. I know the parents had requested a public forum of the school committee a few weeks ago, so that may be a good idea, Michelle. But if there's certain things that you feel that need to be addressed with parents that aren't, just let us know. But we're communicating weekly with parents, students. So that's happening now. But maybe if there's issues that you see or discussions that need to take place, just let us know.
Yeah, get emails from parents, and that's where the confusion is, I think. So I see a lot of hands. I don't want to take up the time here, but there's some miscommunication somewhere, and I don't know. I'm new, so I don't even know where it's coming from. But I am getting emails from parents.
I saw Kristen first, and then I saw Karen, and then I saw David. I hope I'm in the right order.
Thanks, Pat. This is Kristen. I'm wondering, because I am hearing very similar things as Michelle, and I know, John, that there is communication that's happening and emails that are going out. I'm wondering if there is a way where school committee members could be added to those email chains that go out to parents so that we are aware of what is being sent out, and it's almost like we're getting the same information as the parents are getting. So it's just an added, 11 members to the emails. So we know the correspondence that's going out, and that way when a parent emails us about an email that they've received, we don't have to say, I'm not sure what you're talking about because I didn't get that email. I think it would be really helpful.
Yeah, I brought that up, and that was on my superintendent report 2 meetings ago. If any committee member wanted to be added to any school's email list with the emails going out from the principals, that we would certainly do that to let us know, but I haven't heard from anybody. But if you want me to automatically have everybody added,
to everyone.
we can certainly do that.
Thank you. That would be great.
Sure.
Karen?
Okay, what I wanted to say is that some of the emails that I've gotten, I have just been able to refer people to the correct place on the school website for an answer to their question. It's already there. And I think that along with what Kristen just brought up should answer a lot of concerns. I have 2 fears about an open forum. First of all, we have a limit on the number of people that can be in a place. And secondly, there's often a lot of griping that goes on, and I would like to try to stick to the facts if possible. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I understand. David?
Michelle, hopefully by now you've got the school committee manual, and soon you'll take the several hour training course. I've taken it 3 times. I take it every 2 years because I don't retain much. Your thoughts, if they occurred ad hoc as school committee members, would be entirely inappropriate, because I'm not a spokesman for the school committee or for the school system. The chairman, but not we members. And I would oppose us holding a forum to get into a back and forth. If I've learned anything so far on the school committee, it's that during public comment, you listen, but if we respond to everything, it will just be debate night, and we won't get through our 16 point agenda ever.
Right. Yeah, I think, Abby?
So, I mean, this sounds like we're talking about next item, which is the citizens' comments. So in looking through the policy manual, and I looked through the book I have, which is a little bit outdated, and I did not manage to then cross-reference it with the document online. But in terms of responding to citizens' comments that are made at public meeting, what I found was that's the superintendent's responsibility, not ours as a committee. And really, even I think, and I'll have to find the right picture I took on my phone, I believe that even in responding to emails, a lot of times it is about referring the person writing to you to the proper administrator who may actually have the answer to their question.
I would agree with that. I think that there was I don't know if it's a policy or years ago at Pioneer, I think, Pat, when you were chair, that there's a protocol to follow. And if you receive emails from, parents, that you would refer them to the principal's administration first, maybe for answers.
Right. Yeah, we did that. Mike?
I think one of the biggest issues that I'm hearing from parents through the email or messages is they'll send an email to the proper, through the proper chain, but they're getting no response. And then they start reaching out to us. And that's where the breakdown in communications is happening. If administration receives an email, or even the chair of the school committee, I think it's, should be prudent to respond, within the same day, if not the following morning. I mean, I try to respond to my emails probably within about 2 hours or less, just because there's been so many of them, I wouldn't be able to get a night's sleep if I went through them when I got home. So I think responding to emails that are sent to the superintendent, the chair of the school committee, the principals. If a parent has sent an email and then we're hearing about it that they didn't get a response, that's where I have a problem. And we got to do a better job at responding to the emails or questions parents have at the top of the
respond to that, Mike, because I haven't received any of the emails that you're talking about from parents, and I respond to everybody's emails or phone calls, as do our principals. So I've been involved with some of the emails that have been sent to you and been forwarded to me by parents. So I would appreciate if the school committee follows a protocol of, letting the superintendent and the principals address those concerns first, because a lot of this stuff they're just apparently going to you and not coming through us. But I don't think there's one email, phone call that I have not responded to, and I believe that's the same for the principals as well.
Well, then all I can say is the parents out there that are listening that send emails to school committee members that are saying that they sent emails to the superintendent or the chair and didn't get no response, please make sure that you document those emails, and then you can forward them to the school committee members, and then we can re-forward them to the superintendent.
Kristen?
Thanks, Mike.
So two things. One is if there is a policy or a protocol in place, I would just ask that it be sent out to everyone so that we can clearly see what it states. And I am not aware of that, and don't have a copy of it. That's just one request I would have, so that we could just have it in formality and have access to it. The other thing that I just wanted to make a comment on is I've received some phone calls from parents, and I think that some of the questions that I've been asked has to do with practice and policy and guidance of school committee functioning. Before I was a school committee member, I came to a lot of meetings and had my own thoughts and opinions on how school committee functioned. But when I became a member of the school committee, I learned a lot of how we are required to function and the practices and the policies that we are supposed to follow. So I think that there's a disconnect that some of this is about education and sharing how a school committee is supposed to be run or how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. But I think that's what I've been providing a lot of feedback to parents and questions. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? And some of it is not because we choose to, some of it is because that is the way the operational needs of the school committee are. So I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but that's some of the stuff that I have been hearing from and answering questions regarding.
Claire, I saw you had your hand up, and then Abby.
I did. And a few years ago, the protocol for, teachers for making some type of a concern, it was always building principal, and then superintendent, and then school committee. And so I really think that, I think that should kind of be the protocol that we're going forward with, that if parents have some type of an issue, they should start with the principal, and then the superintendent, and then the school committee. If we're going to have a protocol, it should all be the same. Just my thought.
Yeah, it's always been that way. Abby, and then Megan.
That way, there's been a couple times that there's been incidents before, and we've heard that, you need to follow the protocol, and that's the protocol. And I'm not really sure how many people understand what that is or where that is, but maybe if that could be like rewritten and put out there so that we're all on the same page, that, parents, teachers, it's principal, superintendent, and then school committee. And I think that makes the most sense, so that it's a chain of command and everybody knows what's happening and that we're all on the same page going forward.
Thank you. Abby?
So I guess in response to both Kristen and Claire, like I said earlier, I started looking at the policy book a couple days ago and found what pages the policies on citizen comments are. I will hopefully in the next few days go to the document online, find those pages and send those out to the committee if I can. And yeah, I mean, there are some protocols in there. We're in the process, which is kind of installed because of COVID, of working with MASC to kind of overhaul our policy book, and that's a 3-year process. So it's slow. It's slower now because of everything going on, but hopefully during that time we'll be able to update everything that we need to make sure that everything is super clear to everybody.
Abby, thank you for doing that. I was going to ask you too, and you volunteered, so thanks a bunch.
I've already started the process.
Megan, you had your hand raised. Do you have anything you need to?
Yeah, just very simply, I believe it's in all of our handbooks whenever there's concern. In fact, we ask parents to start with the teacher if it's, obviously a classroom or related issue, and then move up that chain as described. So there is documentation in, I believe, all of our handbooks on that.
Okay, I thought they were there too. Okay, so David?
To school committee members, we need to follow that procedure, run it up the chain of command. But as elected officials, you do have the right to respond, but you must be absolutely clear that you're doing so as one elected official.
Yes.
So, it's not like there's a gag order on, and we'd all agree it's incumbent, and when you get the kind of thing that needs to get pushed to the principal, et cetera, that has to be done. The responding as a politician isn't enough. You do have that right, and it's a personal judgment.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All right, I've lost John. So did we get through the discussion and process for citizens' comments? I do believe we did. So we are now.
Pat?
Yes.
So we didn't discuss that email that was for citizens' comments. We didn't discuss that email that was developed. And
that was one of the things you were talking about, correct?
Yeah, there was an email I read through the Greenfield Recorder that there is an email that we have apparently that has been set up for individuals who have citizens concerns, and I was absent for 2 meetings in August, so I could have missed this, so I apologize if I did, but I don't recall how that came about, and I don't recall us having a discussion and explaining how that was going to work or voting on it.
I think you're right. So maybe John, can you explain that to us?
That was a discussion by the committee because there were concerns, I think, from parents not knowing how to get on citizens' comments. So the committee wanted us to put a link, which we did on our homepage, for citizens' comments if they were interested. In the email, the committee wanted to go to Joanne. So the community can go on our homepage on the lower left side. There's a link for citizens' comments. They can then email Joanne if they'd like to participate in citizens' comments. And then Joanne would email the chair the list of names, of who would like to speak. So that was discussed. I don't remember, Kristen, if it was at which meeting. It was in the last 2 meetings, I think, but that's what we did. We just put the link on so citizens could email in if they'd like to just be put on citizens' comments.
Okay, thanks. I know we talked about it. I just didn't remember us like it coming to fruition or like a formalized plan. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so moving on, if that's okay with everyone. Health and safety related matters. So is Carla or Kevin, either of them or both of them, going to address this?
Yeah, Carla's going to address this.
Okay. Thanks, Carla.
Sorry, I had trouble unmuting. Yes, I'm here, and I think Kevin's here also. I think he can speak before, after me. So it's good to be back in the building. As Claire wrote earlier in the chat, it's been good to see everybody. The nurses have been in their individual buildings, And we've also been doing trainings with staff and meeting once a week with each other and connecting with nurses in other districts, trying to, work through all this. So much of the situation is really being creative in how to help staff members apply all the guidelines that we're talking about as far as infection control and apply them to each of their individual classrooms. It's not kind of a one size fits all. Each classroom is unique. So that's been, pretty good things happen when people put heads together. So I can speak primarily for Pioneer. That's where I spend most of my time, but the staff's been really positive and has had some really great questions. And I think things are going pretty well there. As far as PPE, we have that all in now. We've ordered some youth masks also. So Tanya and I spoke today about getting masks to the buses. So they'll have both sizes in case kids do forget their masks. And I'll keep on monitoring the PPE and order more as needed. But right now we're just kind of dispersing it through the schools and doing trainings and whatnot on that. I think there were some questions on hand sanitizer. So those are all up now in the buildings. All the wall units are up. They're mounted in full. We also have, we were able to get some hand sanitizer wipes that we have a stock of that we got back in the spring. So those are kind of being dispersed throughout the buildings also. And we're getting to smaller bottles for each classroom. So that's happening kind of slowly. Some went to BES today. I went through Pioneer today and hit most of the classrooms, and then we'll get to NES. Let's see what else is there. Did anyone have questions meanwhile? I know there was some individual questions on hand sanitizer. Go ahead, Kristen.
I just have a question regarding the use and frequency of when the hand sanitizer is going to be used, and if we have anything alternative for a child who may have like a skin sensitivity or allergy to the hand sanitizer.
Yep, so that would have to be worked out individually, and hand sanitizer has to be kind of an opt-in situation because it's considered an over-the-counter medication. So on the interval health history form that goes home throughout the district, or at least I'm not actually sure if it's on the elementary school ones, but we can make sure it's on there. It's on the Pioneer one where parents say, yes, I want my child to use hand sanitizer, or no, I don't. So that would probably have to be handled uniquely depending on where the child is. And certainly soap and water would be the best option there. That's really the best option regardless. So that, we'd have to handle each situation separately depending on where the child is.
Thanks, Carla.
Yep.
Any other questions?
And I know
this is David. Have we done anything to enhance the opportunities for soap and water hand washing? Like I'm going to take the bubblers out of Warwick School and replace them within the hall hand sinks.
Yes, and that's a great idea. It's a little tricky for us at Pioneer. It was certainly a plumbing issue, I believe. But then also we have the fillable water stations there. So those are, been donated by other classes and other organizations. So those are pretty new units. So we wouldn't be replacing those. But we do have, and Kevin can speak more to this, we do have new faucets coming in some of the bathroom sinks. And again, that's going to have to be, individual to each classroom, how that works. We have not been able to add additional sinks. That was something that we weren't necessarily able to, place orders for. It was just kind of not available. As far as hand washing stations that you might find in a garden store or something like that, we weren't able to really locate any of that. And that also poses a problem for wastewater and whatnot. So we're going to have to use the sinks that we have.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Pat, I just have a quick question. I know, Carla, you mentioned that the sanitizer is an opt-in for, I guess, students and minors. I read in the plan there where it said that students will be responsible for cleaning their own area. I'm assuming that's like sanitizing wipes. Is that an opt-in type thing also, or what is that something different?
I'm not sure I don't recall putting that in as in every student would be doing that. We did talk about trying to make that something that maybe the older kids could do, just take some, kind of responsibility and learn about being able to clean their own area. It wasn't anything that we would necessarily require kids to do if they weren't comfortable doing it, or I think it'll be a class by class kind of thing. But I would definitely say that I believe that it would be important. In other countries, there are kids that they mop the floors, they clean the dishes, it's part of their community, and they're kind of learning how to take care of it. In this situation, they're taking care of themselves and others. So, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it certainly wouldn't be anything that would be forced.
Okay, Karen, no, that wasn't your hand, it was paper. Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Just before I don't know if anyone else has questions, but also I did share that that PowerPoint that I made about the school closure protocol. So, so that's been shared in your documents. I wasn't planning on going through it again tonight, hoping that everyone had looked at it. So if anyone has individual questions on that and you want to contact me separately, or if you have questions now, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay. Don't all speak at once. All right. I think we're good. Thank you, Carla.
Thanks.
And Kevin, I think you're up next.
Okay, so so far we've received the UV sanitation robots, plexiglass guards for teachers, IAs, specialists came in yesterday. We unloaded them. Some of them went to Northfield today. Others will be going later this week or first thing next week. Like Carla said, our plumbing at the high school, it leaves a lot to be desired. At all the schools, it actually leaves a lot to be desired. I had to pick one to start with. I've ordered new faucets for a lot of the student bathrooms at Pioneer because you can't even get to the adjustments on them anymore. To make the adjustments so that they run longer, some of them will only run for a second or two before they shut off. So for the sake of being able to wash your hands properly, we did, out of the regular budget, order 25 faucets today to be put in as soon as I get them. Also shut off all the air dryers, moved on to putting in paper towel dispensers, ordered more of those as well for the buildings. I know Mr. Townsley had asked about the Msds sheet for the backpack sprayers that we were going to be using. As of yesterday, that changed. The distributor can no longer get them. They're in such short supply, they were just told that we're not going to get them. They offered a separate solution that we're evaluating now. We're looking at it. It will work for us. It's just we lose the electrostatic piece of it, but it still will dispense the proper amount of disinfectant for the amount of dwell time. And those are going to be used after hours. So that's not something that students will be coming into contact with. I suppose there could be some spot use during the day if we find that it's usable on playground equipment and whatnot. But I know the big question that everybody has is the ventilation systems and the heating systems. So I'll give you kind of how I approached it, and then I'll open it up to questions because I know that everybody's got questions about it. So we're working with buildings that are older, systems that are older. Bernardston's in relatively good shape. The town actually paid Jamrog to come in and check their airflow, which is a little easier because their building's heated by baseboard with energy recovery units up in the attic. So it's not quite as much as you would have with a building with a univent set. The high school, we have a number of issues around the heating system that have been managed manually over the last X number of years, long before I got here, by our head custodian. And Northfield's system is slated for upgrades, I believe, next summer through the Green Energies grant. So the work for Northfield has already started on what it needs. So going into this, there was the possibility of having systems evaluated, or assuming that we need to mitigate problems. And given the level of CARES grant funding that we were able to share from the towns, I had to look at it from a perspective of what can we put in place to make the situation as best we can. Had I gone and had the, and it was a recommendation, not a requirement, had the systems analyzed by a company, one of the ballpark quotes I got was between $15,000 and $20,000 for the high school. And then that leaves us with $15,000 to $20,000 less to try to mitigate problems that we have because we don't have 6 figures to make repairs to energy management systems and things that are going on that we've been manually controlling. So, for instance, HEPA filters, I was able to secure units from a company in Florida for every classroom office that are going to do, in a 1,250 square foot room, we'll do 4 air cleanings an hour once we have to start closing windows. You know, so it's kind of, we're doing the best with what we have, knowing that we don't have the ability to go any further with repairs. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars if we could even get the people to come in and do the work. So if anybody has any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So one of my questions tonight was going to be is regarding the MSDS sheets. And one of the things I'd like to have or see happen is anytime that you change from one chemical to another, because as you just said, the ones you were going to have are unavailable. I would like to have that current MSDS sheet updated in each school, and so it's available to any parent. And I think a notice should go out that the chemical source or whatever you're going to be utilizing has changed, so the parents know that there has been a change and they can request the MSDS sheet. And then also you mentioned the UV robots. Where are those robots going to be in each school or just one school?
All 3 of them.
Okay, so you get
for Pioneer and for Northfield.
Okay, so you've got the UV robots along with the misting stuff that you're going to be putting down also?
Yes.
Okay, and then the other concern, I guess, is when the chemical is going to be put in application during the day or after hours or the beginning of the day. I think that's another conversation that maybe the committee wants to know is when is it going to be done before, before the custodians leave the building at the end of their shifts? And is there any time during the day that the stuff would be used when students are at the schools?
So until I get to speak with the rep from the company that we're going to be looking at using the product for, I don't know if we're going to be using it during the day. I would expect that the evening custodians are going to either do all of their cleaning and then put these things on and go with their PPE, go through and do all their classrooms and then close the doors for the night and mark them clean. There's been questions about whether or not we can use it in the playground. The product we're looking at now is called QT3. It's made by Hilliard. It has a 3-minute dwell time required for COVID. The one thing, I mean, I know there's a lot of, so the MSDS book, I took it out and looked at it. Honestly, with everything that's gone on, I didn't start until January. I was left a mess. And the MSDS book needs to be updated. It's out of date. It doesn't have a lot of the new things in it. So all of that has to be done. I'll be working with the rep and getting everything in line for the MSDS books. I guess I'm a little concerned that all of a sudden the school committee wants to be involved in which chemicals we're cleaning with in the schools, because that's typically not something that a school committee would be concerned with. It would fall under the purview of the superintendent or their designee. And in that case, it would be me. Kristen?
Sorry, I was having a hard time getting myself off mute. I appreciate the work that you're doing, and you have more knowledge than I do in regards to these situations. My concern is, or my question is, I think it's really important that we share any information regarding chemical usage, so that we're aware of what it is. I don't think it's a question of whether you're using the right chemical or not. I think when we talk chemicals, people need to have the information about what it is and the possible effects of it. That is my concern, because I don't, I'm not familiar with this. I don't work in maintenance. It's just a concern of mine, and that's why I would ask about it. Whether you send me, I mean, I can read and I can learn through reading. If it was a sheet that was just sent out explaining what the chemical was, and any potential effects, that's really what I'm looking for, so I can be educated on what it is.
David, you had your hand up.
Yes. I personally would be concerned with the persistence of the compounds used, because there are some things that are for situations that can't be cleaned in a short period. And I've got, people in my town that never ate school lunch because they eat organic. So people have a right to that information, what we're using. But what I wanted to speak to was a discomfort, possible discomfort with skipping the $15,000 ventilation study. And Kevin, I know you come to us with a heating ventilation background, but I know that in neighboring Winchester, their elementary school, they did such a study, and they determined that their school was capable of handling about under 20% of the amount of air that needs to be moved according to the building code. Forget about what you would want in the COVID-19 world. So they're spending six figures. They're spending $640,000 right now to address fresh air in their building. I've been studying it in Warwick, and we discovered that we have about the most optimal design possible, because our fresh air, heated air, enters high on the warm interior wall, and there's air handlers moving air in and out of the room, and the exhaust air goes out low. So you point kids at the outgoing vent, you don't have them coughing in each other's backs. It seemed like the stupidest design I ever thought of, that you put heat in high, because we all know it rises. But because of the mechanics of moving the air, it mixes. And we just got awarded a Green Communities grant, and we're getting a $80-something thousand, and part of it is a building control system. And we're putting CO2 sensors in every room and modulating gates. And then for a cost of about $4,000, we're going to introduce bipolar negative ionization devices. And I asked, since we have 100% fresh air makeup, why would we possibly take the good clean outside air and treat it? But the answer was that it basically treats that air with those ions, and when they meet a virus or bacteria, they disable it. And when they meet soot and smoke and dust and pollen, they make it heavy and it falls to the ground. So we're left with a great building for the COVID-19 epidemic. But I'm concerned that maybe we should spend money in Northfield and figure out, maybe you saved us the $15,000 and did that calculation, but the approach that I did the best for us that we could with the money available is not necessarily comforting. And why I'm among those school committee members who thinks we need to be very cautious in moving back into our buildings.
So the pieces and parts out of the CARES grant that we did use to put things in place would not have, certainly not have covered repairs. If we had used the money from the HEPA purifiers that are going in the classrooms, at all three buildings to do a study, we would have had answers, but no way to mitigate the problems. So in my regular budget, I run with about $8,000 of unexpected expenses. My faucets that I'm replacing in the high school for, this is just for Pioneer, that was half of that today. So with a budget that's so tight, these are capital expenditures that would have to be put out to the public, voted on, taxes, however it gets funded. Maybe at some point through DESI, through an advanced replacement. The work for Northfield has already been done by the folks that are doing the Green Communities grant there. We know what's needed in those classrooms. There's provisions being made. The grant's been awarded. We just can't do it while kids are in school. So the Northfield building does need work, but we can't do it till next summer. I mean, if we want an air study, I'm happy to do an air study, but I need to know how to fund it.
Well, perhaps somebody could remind me what we did with our $225 per student from DESI. That was an addition to the 25 million that we could apply toward IT matters. I'm just forgetting.
So I'm happy to actually pull that up really quickly and show you guys where we spent that. But a quick rundown is for additional staff needs for substitutes in the building. So we have permanent subs so that we don't have people coming in and out of the buildings on a daily basis. We also had additional supplies and stuff that ended up, we didn't get the full return to school grant for the technology. That was about $20,000 under. So that was funded through the Reopening Schools grant. But I will share my screen real quick so you can see we got $144,225 for our 641 students that are in foundation enrollment. So if you guys can see my screen, this is the breakdown of the grant. And then I have individual tabs for each of the schools for the items that were needed. Things like all of the social distancing stuff, additional trash cans that were needed for the nurse's office, respiratory hygiene stations for the nurse's office, in addition to additional radios that were needed so that we could actually do outdoor learning. So $225 per student didn't really add up to a whole lot, but it primarily funded some additional staffing that was requested of not only administration, but of the staff as a whole to be able to support reopening schools that we couldn't facilitate in our normal budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any other questions of Kevin?
Pat, I just have one
Okay, I
more.
see Mike, and then I see Michelle, and then I see Abby. Is that everybody?
I was in there too, Pat, so.
Okay, thank you, Seth. All right, Mike?
Just to follow up on the chemical thing, it's a right to know what's being applied in our schools, especially with children. I mean, you just look across the United States, like Flint, Michigan, stuff that's been, happened and was ignored. I'm asking the questions so I'm informed and so the parents can be informed. It's not to put you in a hard spot, Kevin. We should be asking these questions just in case there's problems down the road. And then we can say we asked those questions. It's very important to me that parents understand what's being applied in their schools because young children, things can affect them a lot easier when they're young. And the people that are applying the chemicals, are they required to have training? Do they have the right equipment? Those are the other things. I'm thinking of the employees here. So those are my concerns. And I think that anytime there's a chemical change, the school committee should be notified. It should be put in the Msds sheet, and the parent should also be notified.
Okay, Michelle?
I wanted to echo just about what Mike said. This is very concerning to me to listen to some of the risks that we're just bringing up. This is, September 10th, and why are we just talking about this? I mean, we really have to look at the safety of the children and of the teachers. And MSDS sheets are an OSHA requirement. So I'm very concerned about hearing about this. And, I think moving forward, we got to do a risk assessment and talk about what the risks are.
Okay, so I'm your facilities director and your maintenance guy for 3 schools with a lot of problems. The only place I have to delegate is an overworked custodial staff right now. I'm at my limit. I'm working 14 to 16 hours a day. MSDS sheets are super important. OSHA is super important. Asbestos is super important. All these things are very important. But with COVID going on, I've had to prioritize my time to get kids back to school as best I could in the safest ways that I could. So I will do the MSDS book. I will do it as quickly as I can. However, for the next 2 weeks, I have to focus on getting buildings ready for kids to come back into. So I don't know if you want a timeline on this, Mike, about when the MSDS sheets are all in the book. There are a lot that I need to bring back into compliance in this district, and I just have not had the time to do them all.
Okay, so I'm not so concerned about the MSDS sheet. What I'm concerned about before the kids go back to school is that the chemicals that are going to be applied in each school, you could delegate this to maybe, up the chain to the principal, and she can put it out in a report. All you got to do is hand her that copy of what the chemical is and how it's going to be applied, and the parents get it.
30 different cleaning chemicals, depending on the area of the building, different gym finishes, strippers, floor wax. I mean,
I'm talking about the spray. I'm not talking about the normal daily stuff that we've been doing for the last 30 years. I'm talking specifically about sprays related to COVID that's going to be in every classroom, every night, or every morning.
I can do that.
Thank you.
That's all I'm asking for.
Okay, Jess? Jess?
Sorry, I was just going to say the same thing, that seemed like that's what really mattered, was that the parents just would have access to what the new chemicals are and so they could research them.
Okay, and David, and I forgot somebody, and I don't know who I forgot. Abby.
Well, it'd be lovely if we could get Kevin a little clerical help, because this is not something that really requires his skills. When I order something from Granger for Warwick Broadband that is volatile or something like that, that sheet's right there, a PDF to print. I'm sure it's all available on the internet. And so if the list were developed, somebody else can do that research and put that book together, and you can do other things.
It needs to do. Yeah. Abby?
So 2 things, and Kevin and John, I will reach out to you directly about this, but I was actually contacted by a parent this week who has a student in one of our schools and whose wife works in one of our schools who does HVAC and would be willing to take a look at our system cost. That being said, I know that the repairs are expensive and that we may not be able to do all of them. But my concern there is, if we have an idea of what needs to be done on the grand scale, then we may know how many students we can actually have safely in the building. So that's what I'm hearing, is if we're having issues in buildings where it may not be as safe, how many students can we have there? We're hoping to move to everybody being able to be in the building if they want to, or in the buildings. So that might give us more information.
Please feel free to forward their information. We did ask a local contractor that had students in the schools to come in. He met with me for about 20 minutes and said that it just was something that was beyond his capability. We're talking about people like, just large companies that are doing this. So, but I'll take any input I can get, even if it's, volunteer and recommendation. I mean, I've done it for 15 years. The past 12 years have been in public school. So, it's any help is welcomed at this point.
All right, have we kept Kevin in the hot seat enough? Seth?
So yeah, I think I
Yes.
just wanted to echo the same idea about the MSDS. I think is a similar thought behind the air quality and the knowing. And I think if you get the information, you have it available to people and kind of can at least say what the findings are that people are going in the buildings. Because now, and Kevin, I know it's difficult, and I know, but even tonight you've said that there are issues in both Pioneer and Northfield Elementary School. And now it's even more of an unknown for the people who are there, 6 hours a day or whatever it is. I think that to get the test done and to have that kind of knowledge out there is important, and that kind of needs to, in my opinion, be something that puts at the top of the priority list.
Okay, I would just, Seth, I understand, and I agree that we do need to know. However, I'm just, I'm at a point where I don't have the money to pay for it. So I just don't know what to tell you. I can't hire in a company, if Ms. Pratt's contact is able to help us with it and is willing to put their name on it, which is one of the things that the other company wasn't comfortable doing because of the liability, then great, and we'll have some answers. But if we need to remedy things,
Kevin, you muted yourself, or somebody muted you.
no, I probably did it myself. Yeah, we just don't have the same budget that the schools out near Boston do. We don't have the same numbers, we're very, very thin all the way across the board. And I think that the team that's put everything together so far has done an amazing job. We're focusing on the negative right now. I like to look at some of the positives. But so Abby, if you want to send that email, I'm happy to speak with anyone.
So I actually just got a text from the man's wife, and she said that she has already forwarded you the contact information.
Fantastic. I'll respond for the tomorrow morning.
I mean, it would be nice if we could get Kevin some clerical help. It sounds like you're over the top. I don't know that that's possible, but it would be nice, and I would love to do it myself, but you would not be happy if I tried to do it, so. So, one last thing, Michelle, and then we want to move on. I think you're muted.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was trying to say about prioritizing things. I think we need to help Kevin in some respect to get him to where he needs to be. And, let's start writing down what the priorities are, so tonight we've identified this, in a day or two, we might identify something else. I just can't believe that DESE is not, helping more. But, I guess time will tell, but I think we really need to start looking into what our priorities are.
Well, we'll write that as number one, and then we'll move on. Kevin, thank you for putting up with being in the hot seat for 20 minutes. I appreciate it.
Putting up with it. We're all in the same, we're all in the same boat, and waves are high. It's just, how do you steer the ship when?
And we will get through this.
When the rudder's broken, so.
Right.
Thanks.
All right, moving on. Is Tyler with us to discuss technology?
Tyler is with us. Can you all hear me all right?
We can hear you.
Too loud?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So as you can imagine, the technology department has been working around the clock to get everything ready, and there are always new problems, new solutions. And I'm not going to do all of it with you, but the main things I want to touch on, the main things that I was asked to speak on are the Chromebooks, as that's the first thing, the Chromebooks for students. So at the high school, we are good there. All students will have a Chromebook starting day one. So that is fine. Not so much at the elementary schools. We sent a survey out asking what parents would be all right waiting. We ordered the Chromebooks back in July when the budget was freed up. But given that every single school is in the same boat, I don't have a exact ETA when they'll be here. My vendors tell me October. That's all I really get. I don't have a date. I'm hoping early October for obvious reasons. I worked through the numbers with my team and the principals actually today, and we will be able to give every student that needs one to work remotely a Chromebook on, we'll have one available at day one. And the students in the classroom, we will be able to supplement with older devices until the orders arrive. Does anyone have questions about that particular issue? The Chromebooks.
I have one silly question.
Absolutely.
What does a Chromebook do that some other device doesn't, or vice versa?
So a Chromebook is much simpler, and the reason schools like Chromebooks and small IT departments like Chromebooks is because a Windows laptop or something else like a Mac laptop, it does do more than a Chromebook, but the difference is the management aspect. The longest part for us is unboxing the Chromebook, and it does probably 90% of what people do these days is it gives you a web browser, and most things are web browser based these days. Very few things are actually software on the computers. And under normal circumstances, when teachers need special software, we provide them with other devices to do that in school. Yes, David. David Young, I see your hands up.
How do we handle content filtering remotely? Is it going through a proxy?
Yep, it's not going through a proxy. We are using a product called Securely, which provides us web filtering, which we have control of remotely. So that's another benefit of Chromebooks, is that they're extremely easy for us to manage. If there's any misuse, we can lock them with a click of a button, and they're locked immediately remotely. And we have full control of the web content filtering.
Okay, that's good to know.
My question is, how is our infrastructure regarding the internet capabilities of our school system, like the elementary schools in Northfield and Bernardston? How is that? Are the systems capable of handling the load?
They are, as far as I know right now. And also, I should mention that I have working with Comcast to get a fiber upgrade. That's still in the works. That will essentially double the upload and download speeds at both of those schools. That's not in place yet, unfortunately. I was hoping it would be, but it's not. That's not to say there haven't been some glitches. Most of the glitches I'm aware of have been with regards to the Northfield. There's some issues with the electricians were there, and just the sort of fire project going on, and some access points were unplugged, causing issues over there. And there were some other minor things at Bernardston, but everything that's been brought to my attention, I believe, has been worked out. There may be things that I haven't gotten to yet, though.
David?
So the last time I counted, a few years ago, we had 400 employees and we got 643 students. That's a lot of devices to support, even if a whole lot of them are the same. Mohawk and Mahar both hired an outside IT firm to support parents and children in utilizing the Google Classroom. And I'm aware that most of the reported problems to the school about connectivity, didn't really involve system capability. It had more to do with subscribing to an inadequate level of service, not having the service.
Right. Yeah.
How do you feel you're fixed for that challenge? I mean, I'm more with broadband, and I've got 250 something hosts. You're going to have 4 times that, and one guy helping you.
Yeah, so it's going to be challenging. With that being said, they're all using Chromebooks, which are very simple to troubleshoot. Essentially, there's not a whole lot to go wrong. And if this was a perfect world, which it's not, I don't have them, but if it's go wrong, it's very easy to switch a Chromebook out and get it back. It's extremely simple for the end user for that process. Again, that being said, unfortunately, I don't have them all in hand right now, but I'm hoping they get in here soon. So those are my thoughts on that. And again, I did work in a consulting firm that we were, essentially full stack network engineering. We did stuff from helping people log into their PCs to full installations for colleges and universities. So I've worked in, and we had, over 250 businesses as clients. So I've supported large environments before as well.
Thanks. Is there any other questions of Tyler? All right, you're off the hook. Thanks
Thank
an
you.
awful lot. Good luck. I hope they come quickly. And now, is there any other business that, oops, anybody trying to say something? Is there any other business that was not anticipated? Okay, I saw Kristen first, and then I saw Karen, and then I saw Abby. So we'll start with Kristen.
I have two things. One is just a statement and the other is a question.
Okay.
I want to say this with the utmost respect for everyone within our district, the administration, the staff, everyone who works within the district. I know everybody has been working tirelessly, trying to figure out, trying to make decisions, trying to make things work so that our students have the best of what they need. But I want to be clear about something, in that I understand that we have what I'll call a chain of command and process that we have to follow as school committee members. But I want to be clear that when I ask a question, it's because I would like the information. I'm not questioning someone's motives or why they're doing it. It's because I do not have the education or the information that I feel that I need as a school committee member to make some very important decisions in the role that I have as a school committee member. I take this job very seriously. I don't want to speak on behalf of any other school committee member, but I do hope that folks understand that when I pose a question, it's not because I'm second guessing the job that they're doing. It's because I would like the answer and I would like to have the information to be educated in what I need to do as a school committee member, make decisions that are in the best interest of the children. The other question that I have is, time is ticking for us. And one of the things that I don't think that we've discussed, and maybe it's on the agenda for future, but what it looks like as we progress through these next few weeks and what reopening is going to look like if we are reopening. I'm getting a lot of feedback from parents about trying to figure out what their personal work schedules are, what they're doing with their children. And I would like to have some knowledge or have some discussion about what's going to happen after the 3 weeks of virtual school is completed, and at what point are we assessing our next steps so that we can all be on the same page and have all the information that we need.
All right, thank you, Kristen. And who was speaking next? Karen was speaking next. You're muted.
Thank you. I would like to return to one of the documents we received for this meeting and the previous meeting. And I had questions about that before. It's the parental consent release from liability. And I know that if I sign a document this important, I want to make sure that I understand it. And on the front page, the last paragraph still isn't a sentence. So I don't know what it's trying to tell me. I had raised this same question at the last meeting.
Thank you, Karen. Abby?
So I was going to ask the same question as Kristen of about the reassessment to moving forward in whatever form of learning we're going to move to after these 3 weeks remote, whether we're staying remote or moving into more in-person education for our students.
And David?
So Karen, I want to suggest this meaning. So think of mortgager and mortgagee. I think the word that's confusing us releasee is either the one that gave the release or received the release. But I think that's that word me. And if you
I know
take
what
that,
David, I know what the word means, but it's not a complete.
all right, I struggled with that. I'm sorry to share.
That's okay. There's no verb in that sentence. That's my problem.
Can you buy a verb?
You're not playing Scrabble. John, can you answer the questions that have been put out by committee members?
Sure.
Sorry
So
to put you on the spot, but.
Okay, for the waiver, Karen, I actually think Russell's on the call. He redid this document. He did it the first time, then made changes after you requested the changes. So he could probably explain that. But just going to the reopening plan, I mean, the school committee voted on the 3 weeks remote and then to start our 2-week hybrid model. And then if we're able to, at that point, do the in-person, or we may end up staying in the hybrid model. That's the plan. We can certainly send that out again in a clear fashion to the entire district. But we'll be looking at, the health metrics and what Carla's put in place. About a week before, we transition from the full remote into the 2-week hybrid to make sure that we can do that and we can change into that model. But that's the plan and has been the plan for a while. So we can certainly send that out again to everybody just so it's clear. And I think Russell is in his car maybe. And
yeah. Yeah, I don't obviously have that in front of me. Could you read the sentence to me? I don't recall. I've done a lot of waivers, so I'm not sure what yours says.
Karen?
I think suffer's the verb.
What?
Suffer a verb?
Karen, could you
If
read
my
that
child
I
may suffer.
I don't see that on my copy.
Can
It says,
you read your copy?
yes, release against any all legal claims and proceedings of any description that may have been asserted in the past or may be asserted in the future, directly or indirectly, including damages, costs, and attorney's fees arising from personal injuries to my child or property damage resulting from my child's presence on Pioneer Valley Regional School District property or administration of first aid. There is no verb in that sentence.
Could you read the very beginning again?
Releases against any and all claims and proceedings of any description that may have been asserted in the past or may be asserted in the future, directly or indirectly, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, that's missing suburbia in the beginning. So I think probably what happened, I think I sent a form, like a template for the waiver, and information was inserted, but it sounds like it's missing some of the wording in the beginning of that sentence. What it should say is something like releasees, it's that they're waiving their rights in regard to all of those topics. So the missing verb is something like waiving, but I'd have to, so I could revise it. It's really just missing a word or two, it sounds like, but you're correct.
That would be great.
That'd be great. Good. Good. I think it would be confusing to people.
Okay, and Abby?
So I just want to make sure I'm 100% clear, John. After the 3-week remote, the school committee is not reassessing on moving forward. This will be Dr. Poti, Carla, nurse leaders, you making the decision if things are ready to go forward.
in the Board of Health also.
Board of Health, yes. Okay, thank you. I feel like there's been a lot of confusion from what I've seen about it.
Everybody knows we met with the Board of Health. I mean, we've talked to Bernardston and Northfield's boards of health. They feel very comfortable with our plan and staying in constant communication with them as we move forward. So they're involved with our district and decisions that are going to be made and being made.
I think that's very important for our citizens to realize that there is a plan I think up until now, they really haven't thought we had a plan at all, so. We've had it, but they haven't understood it, maybe, I'm not sure. But Kristen,
Sorry, I'm the
Kristen?
one with a lot of questions tonight.
That's okay.
And I don't mean to be a pain. John, thank you. I think it would be a good idea, like you said, to send that information out again. And just for clarity, is there a certain criteria that we're looking at when the 3 weeks are done? Are we that will determine the next steps of hybrid, or is it just if things go well, that's the plan, is to move into a hybrid?
Carla, if you're on, I think Carla, has sent this out to school committee members, the protocols, and maybe you want to reiterate that, Carla, the process and who's involved and what the protocol is. There is a protocol, Kristen.
Thank you.
So, is
Yeah,
Carla?
I don't see her on. I don't see her on. Maybe, maybe she can reply to school committee members with the answer to that.
So all the documentation that we were provided as an admin team about the protocols that were going to be followed are actually in the documents that were provided to the school committee as far as the percentages out of 100,000. So you guys have all that information available to you in your school committee documents for this week as well.
So can I ask a question about that information and that criteria? Is it available to the public as well so that community members can access it?
Yes, it's in our reopening document on our website. So if any community members are listening and they want to access that, they can go to the homepage of our district website and access the plan. And then I would scroll all the way down to the bottom for those protocols. I believe they're toward the bottom of the document.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Great. Okay, do we have any other? All right, moving on. We have executive session on our agenda, but Russell, would you like to address that?
I think he just left.
Okay, and there's a reason for that. Evidently, the materials that we need are not ready for us yet, so we will have to meet again to discuss that, the item that we have on the agenda.
Pat,
John?
can I say something? I'm sorry. I think Russell is, I'm sorry, Pat, I think Russell's getting out of his car and probably going, because he wants to share the screen. I think we still want to go into executive session.
Okay, then if we're still going to go into executive session, on our agenda, it reads, why would someone like to make a motion using the wording that is in the executive session agenda?
I'm going to excuse myself now.
Okay, thank you, David. Have a nice
Thank you.
night.
Pat, Mike Townsley. I'm going to excuse myself. I'm going to excuse myself also, but before I leave, I'd like to remind everybody tomorrow, September 11th, and to think of those that lost their lives in New York and the rest of the country. All right, have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Pat, I'll make the motion, it's Jeannie.
All right, Jeannie.
I make a motion that we adjourn to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the teachers and support personnel. If no personnel.
All right.
Do we need to invite anyone else in with us?
I'm not sure. We need to second. Well, let's.
I'll second that, Pat. This is Kristen.
Okay, Kristen. John, do we need to invite anybody else in? I don't believe we do we?
No, we don't.
Okay. All right. Kristen, would you like to vote yes or no?
Kristen Gonzalez, Northfield, yes.
Okay. Karen?
Karen O'Neill, Leiden, yes.
Michelle?
Michelle Druso, Leiden, yes.
Jeannie?
Jeannie Milton Bernardston, yes.
Seth?
Seth Kratz, Northfield, yes.
And Jess?
Jessica Marshall, Warwick, yes.
I think that's Jim that's in the dark. Is that right?
It's the best place to be. Jim Bell, Bernardston, yes.
And Abby?
Abby Pratt Leiden, yes.
I think I didn't forget people, did I? All right.
Yourself.
Okay, Renee, you need to okay, and we have Claire is still on there, or somebody's on there. Maybe it's Kevin.
Do we need to say whether we're adjourning afterwards?
And Pat, I have to check out. I have my friend here tonight, and I have got to put him to bed. It's an hour or two past his bedtime already. So I can't take the notes for the executive session, so somebody else will have to take notes, okay?
Okay.
I can do all the recorded stuff that I missed, but I can't do executive session.
All right.
Excuse me, Pat, it looks like there are some people on for executive session that should not be.
Well, I'm here and I'm just wondering, do I need to like get off and then come back on, or?
I don't believe there's anything else that we're going to be doing after this.
Pat, we
Okay,
should have
perfect.
invited Claire and Renee into executive session, I believe.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Claire and Renee and Kim, we're not going to be
This is
doing
just for the
anything.
school committee.
This
Yeah,
is just for school committee to talk.
Okay.
But are,
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Sorry, ladies. Have a
are
nice
you going
weekend.
back into open session afterwards to vote?
Yes.
We are.
Aren't we? Well, there are other,
It's
there
on
are
the
other
agenda.
items on the agenda.
I don't
Yeah, there's-
believe so.
So you're going into executive session to reconvene an open session afterwards because you may vote on the MOU. That was my understanding.
No.
I don't believe we're voting on the MOU.
I don't think we have the MOU ready, so I don't need to vote.
Okay, so then the agenda, so you're not
think-
going to follow the last part of the agenda then?
No,
Okay.
we're good. So we would like to have this just on the school committee, if that's possible.
Okay, and that's great. That's wonderful. Good night,
And
everyone.
we'll figure out another time. All right, thanks. Tanya is on. Should she be or not, John?
And this is Tyler Pless. I'm just staying on in case I have to remove someone.
No,
I'll
I
talk to you as soon as
don't.
the session starts.
Okay, Tanya needs to be excused also.
And would BNC TV also, there wouldn't be anything to cover after this, correct? So they should also
No,
be.
there wouldn't, right. So I see we have BNC TV, Claire Brennan, Renee Creer, Kim, and Tanya that are on.
Tanya?